Hey Pisces, welcome to your reading. I'm Empress Rose. These are general readings, so we take what works, we leave what doesn't, as with everything. And if I don't completely catch your wavelength on this reading, you can go check your other major placements, see if we can't meet up with our storylines over there. I already started pulling cards. I pulled from the Moonology Work Your Light deck, and they already came out, and they're gorgeous, but things happened, and so we're restarting. But I didn't want to restart with new cards because I like the cards we already got. And then after we look at these more intuitive oracle cards, we're going to go on to the Muse Tarot for a more traditional tarot spread. So you have some really beautiful cards here. Let's start with this one. Boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? So establishing better boundaries between who you are and what you want out of life and who somebody else is and somebody else wants. Between work can sometimes be a little demanding and overflow its boundaries. So we want to keep that river in its banks, right? We don't want it flooding and wreaking havoc in the world around it in our lives. So we want to establish good boundaries with work. And the more confident you are in establishing those boundaries, the better it goes. And we're establishing boundaries with other people that may want us to be more like them, want us to play more of a crucial role in making their dreams come true and being exactly what they want us to be. So we're making sure that we're staying true to who we are. There might be a cost to this. It might be difficult. It might take several reiterations of what you're willing to do and not willing to do, and what role you're willing to fill and what role you're not willing to fill. But you get to draw boundaries, and we can negotiate those boundaries. They don't have to be hard and fast, and anyone who crosses them gets shot and cut out forever. But we do need to be speaking our minds. We need to know what we want, share that with others, and negotiations can begin from there. But the first start is where do you need to establish better boundaries between you and the world around you and the people around you? So answer the call. What is your soul calling you to do? And with this boundaries, this isn't what someone else is calling you to do. This is what you want to do. What's your soul calling you to do? You've got some sort of intuition. You've got some sort of idea, a vision here. You already have heard the call. You already have heard and understood sort of something that you want. You've already glimpsed it. You've seen it. And you know what you want, and you need to be moving towards it, towards what you want, even if it upsets somebody else. And even if negotiations need to happen with that other person, you have a clear vision. I think you've already heard the call, and now it's telling you it's time to answer that call. Energy is gaining momentum. So that's why I'm seeing that you've already heard the call and you need to be moving towards it. And the energy is gaining momentum, waxing moon. So we're on our way already towards something. We've already made some initial movement or initial visioning and dreams towards something. We may need to tell someone, back off. I would like to spend my time doing this, not what the project that you set up for me or what you want me to do. I'm going to be doing this. This is what's calling to me. This is what's important to me. I've already made these arrangements. I've already made this deal. I already know that I want to do this and go here. So if you object, that's fine. Object all you want. It doesn't need to sway me from what I want, because you've already made some steps here. You are good enough. You're good enough to full moon in Virgo. You're good enough for these boundaries. You are it is fully within your rights to set up your own boundaries. I wanted to say reasonable, but what's reasonable is very much a matter of, it's in the eye of the beholder what's reasonable. What you may think is reasonable, somebody may think is unreasonable, possibly because they've been telling you what to do for a long time. So they think that this is weird, this is crazy. Why wouldn't you do the thing I want you to do? Why are you doing this other thing? So we have this, you are good enough. You're good enough to establish boundaries. You are smart enough to establish boundaries. You are lovely enough to establish boundaries. You're pretty enough. You're smart enough. Whatever you're having doubts about here, this is here to say that that you are enough. You are good enough, and you don't need to push yourself to fulfill expectations or to fill other people's expectations, or even to fulfill expectations that you yourself internalized from other people. Now that can be a little tricky to sort that out. What you want and what you internalized from somebody else wanting and what you took on behalf of them. That can be a lifetime of therapy right there, trying to figure out the difference between what you want and a desire to please others, which boundaries often talks about people pleasing, wanting others, people that struggle with boundaries. People that don't struggle with boundaries often do not understand what the struggle is. And the people struggling with boundaries often want other people to be happy before they want their own selves to be happy. They want other people to be fulfilled, other people to answer their calling, and they want to support that more than they can hear their own call and support that. I mean, so when we're talking about boundaries and you are good enough, you get to have your vision, and you get to have, and you're already headed towards there. You've already made the plan. So don't let someone else say, yeah, you got to do my thing now. But there can be an internalization of wanting other people to be happy, and that being a goal that's not a true goal, and that's not, we all want other people to be happy. It makes our life easier, and our loved ones, we love them. We want them to be happy, but there has to be a limit to what we're willing to do for that. So you are good enough to set that limit. You are good enough to maybe even examine where you've internalized other people's desires as your own. But it's like you already made plans for something, and someone's coming in here saying like, no, I know you made plans this weekend, but this is what I want to do. Well, you should have said something earlier. I'm not going to do that. I already have something I want to do. So then we have new moon in Taurus. Prosperity lies ahead. So this could be maybe one of your concerns is about prosperity, is about like not being able to make ends meet, or not having enough to do sort of your project and someone else's project or something like that. You could be afraid of that. And this is letting you know that the financials or the physical abundance portion is not the problem here. And maybe it is that, you're having a call to do something, and it actually is going to bring in a lot of money and is going to be very successful. So, and you are good enough and you are worthy of those rewards, and you're already headed towards something, and it's going to be successful. All right. So the Muse deck's already pretty well shuffled, very well shuffled. And then I just cut the deck. So this is your past, your present, your inner landscape, what's at issue, your environment, to-do list, possible outcome. That's funny. We've got some repeats too here, which I like. It seems to speak about the overall energies going on, weaving through our lives collectively. In your recent past, you have Knighted Materials. This is a person, male or female, very methodical, slow going. This could be you. This could be an energy you've been in. We have a horse trotting around, but there's an overall, so there's movement. It talks about Knights are movement and communication. But Materials is slow. Materials is methodical. Materials likes to see the pattern, see how it's unfolding, and kind of jump in. Materials is like on the playground and the jump rope, and the Materials person is like very careful about when they jump in. They watch, they see the pattern. The other ones are more like me and just sort of jump in because it's exciting, and everything gets messed up. So Knighted Materials, though, is going to sit there and wait for the pattern, understand the rhythm, understand what's going on. Very slow moving, very methodical. But if you had a communication in the past, it was from someone that really thought about what they wanted to say, and the way they moved and the way they spoke was thoughtful, methodical, goal-oriented, sure-footed. So there's been some communication either from you or somebody else that was very well thought out and sure-footed. They really understood what they were doing. They saw the lay of the land and then made their next step from that secure base of, understanding something as much as it can be understood. In your current situation, we have Ace of Materials. So another Materials here. We've got a couple Materials here. was it Capricorn that had a bunch of materials too? So materials are talking about our 3D world, not necessarily our dreams, not necessarily our feelings, not necessarily our thoughts, our words, our conversations, but about concrete action and concrete things, jobs, homes, cars, actual reality things, tangibles, things insurance could possibly reimburse you for, like the insurables of life. So it's something very physical, though, not necessarily just the insurables, but more physicality in it, more 3D manifestation. So Ace of Materials, this is starting a new job, a new project. This is actually starting something. This could be the idea portion of starting something, but because it is materials, I have this sense that all the idea portion, the sorting out the feelings, the sorting out the thoughts, the conversations that we had, the very careful, calculated conversations that we had, this is all done. Now we're seeing the manifestation. Now is the first step. This is the seed. This is the seed that goes into the ground. This is the, I see one of the, map icons of right here. This is right here. This is where we're going. This is the concrete place. These are the coordinates where we begin. So it's starting something. It's starting something real. Starting something in physical form, in reality. The dreams have happened. This is sort of where dream, vision, passion meets reality. This is when we go to the store to buy the art supplies. This is when and this could actually be, maybe the art supplies were done a long time ago. Maybe we've had them for a while. This is actually getting started on that project or on this thing, right? This vision that you've had, we're actually, so with this energy is gaining momentum. I see that this is a little bit of the same thing. Like the energy is gaining momentum. We've already started. We've already begun something energetically. This is the physical marker of, and now we start. The race begins. The marathon begins. In reality, this would be like actually a marathon. Yeah, it's a new beginning. In your hopes, your fears, your inner landscape, we have the Emperor. Emperor talks about the right to have power and control, the right to rule, to delegate. Maybe this is something you're hoping for. Maybe you're worried about somebody else who has more power. Maybe you're concerned about the power dynamics here. Maybe who's in charge, who's the foreman of this project hasn't actually been hammered out. And there might be a little bit of confusion about who gets to have a say, who gets to orchestrate these events, who sets the pace, who leads the way. So there's concerns about leadership here and about who has the right to lead. And that's on your mind. Maybe you're beginning a job and you're hoping to someday be the CEO of the company, or you don't know who your supervisor is. There's some kind of, there's like a couple people that could be the direct supervisor, but which one do you ask about this question? And if you ask the wrong one, is there going to be drama about it? So there's questions about leadership, Pisces, questions about who's in charge here, and maybe there could be questions about how much say you actually have. Maybe you are starting a new job and you're not 100% sure on what you just get to make up as you go along and what's got some sort of protocol and some sort of list you've got to follow. Maybe if you bought a house, you're not 100% sure where the property line is or who's responsible for keeping the fence in good repair. There's just some sort of question about who's in charge of something here. And that's it's on your mind. You're thinking about it. Could be this boundaries here. Who gets to say what the boundaries are? Who's right talking about a fence, like boundaries? Who maintains those boundaries? Whose responsibility is it to maintain those boundaries? It's kind of yours to set your boundaries, and it's theirs to set their boundaries, and then there's got to be some sort of negotiation. So it could be some kind of question about a power dynamic, or even like who gets to be in control of the situation and this energy. Look, even the hand shapes are a little bit the same, echoing each other. So this could be worried about boundaries, worried about power, worried about who has the say and who has a right to have a say about something like that. See those hands? It's like they just kind of went in here. They're all part of this like pulling, control, who gets to control the time and energy here. And then what's at issue here? This is Queen of Inspiration in reverse. So queens would be internally focused. So maybe someone's lost their internal way here, or they've lost their inspiration. They've lost their connection to their higher self. This could be a person, or this could just be the energy of this situation. Queen of Inspiration reverse is someone who's just very, they're not really connected to themselves. They're not really inspired. They don't feel inspired. Maybe that's why they're like, why you go to do this project? I want you to do this other project, because they're not inspired with your project at all. It's someone here that isn't excited about something, and it's an internal blockage. It's like there's something. The Queen of Inspiration is all about the inner landscape, and inspiration is all about being in that flow of that universal energy, being connected into the current of life, of energy, and being internally connected with that, and being aware of your own internal guidance system and your own energy, and being very aware of what inspires you and what keeps you going. And it's a very internal process. It's about the inner universe and the movement of that energy within that inner universe. So I see here though, what is your soul calling you to do? Somebody really doesn't know. Like somebody here, could be you or it could be somebody else, just doesn't know. They're not connected. They've experienced some sort of disconnect from their higher self, from the universal energy, from the flow of life. It could be someone experiencing depression. So that could be you or somebody else. But that depression could be rooted in a refusal to follow their own intuition. Not a refusal, but a sense of an inability to follow their own intuition. There are theories that that's where all depression comes from. I'm not 100% on those, but that depression can be rooted in not following your own heart's path. Having received some sort of intuition, maybe you don't even remember having buried that sense of purpose, feeling like you can't, or maybe even being in situations where you can't follow that purpose, that your soul is calling you to do something, and there's an inability to either hear it or an inability to respond to it, and that can at times result in depression. I wouldn't dare say that's the only reason why it exists, but it definitely could play a part in many people's experiences of depression, is that disconnect from their own intuition and the freedom to follow that, or even listen to it. Because what if your intuition told you something that your intellect or the people around you would tell you was impossible? So some kind of disconnect from the higher self, and possibly relating to some depression, or somebody here is depressed and maybe they can't see your vision, and they want you to do something else because they are not inspired. So someone here is not inspired and not in touch with their own chi or energetic movement, or movement in the universe. Yeah. So here we have in your environment 2 of materials. So your environment has a lot going on in it, especially if you just started this other thing. So this Ace of materials is like something's beginning, something's new, there's a new job here. But it's not like this comes into a totally blank life, like you were just sitting there waiting for something new to come in. Oh, good, I was just sitting in a chair for 24 hours a day, and now I have a job to fill up 8 of those hours. This is good. No, the Ace of materials plops itself down into the middle of something that's already going on. So this is a struggle to balance it all, to integrate it into your life, to balance everything you have to do. It's sort of an eternal balance. It's something where each thing needs to be paid attention to, a constant negotiation. This could actually be a constant negotiation with somebody else, especially with this boundaries cards. This could be somebody where you just always have to be pushing back. You always have to be pushing back against their encroachment on what you want to do and what your plan is and what your soul's journey is. And having to deal with these boundary issues could really be soul-sucking. especially if it just goes on and on and on, and you always have to be establishing boundaries, always have to have a discussion about your right to live your life and make your own decisions with somebody, it would definitely, yeah, I'm getting the soul-sucking energy here. Someone's either a soul sucker in your life, a energy vampire, a joy vampire, or you're somehow in that energy of you've experienced some sort of loss, and it could be from a specific person that is always nibbling at your borders here, and sucking the energy. Yeah, I'm getting like there's an energy vampire here, or joy, something that's just sucking the joy out of things all the time. And this could be a person whose inner compass is broken, so or temporarily malfunctioning, let's be generous, temporarily malfunctioning a little bit, and they're not in connection, so they don't know why you should be in connection with yours, and they could be pulling you out sort of down the drain with them also. So but this is a lot, having to juggle something new came in here, something new started, either another job, another project, something like that started, and it's just a lot. There's a lot to juggle, there's a lot to schedule, you're barely holding on, you feel like this might be a little much to have to deal with. So there's a lot to have to deal with, a lot of balls in the air, or plates spinning, or whatever metaphor you like there. There's just a lot going on here. And there's like a constant negotiation that kind of has you maybe a little rattled, or feeling like you're working at maximum capacity here. And then in your environment, or your to-do list, is this Devil card. Deal with the devil. Your greatest growth here, your opportunity for growth, has to do with maybe signing a contract. So the devil can deal with contracts. The devil can also deal with addictions, anything that is enticing and looks good, but is very difficult to remove yourself from once you get going. So that can be addiction, right? Addiction is something that feels good at the time when we're headed into it. It sounds like a great idea. It sounds like fun, but then it's very difficult, extremely difficult to pull out of. So same with, contracts, housing contracts, any mortgages and car loans, anything like that, going to be a little difficult to pull out of. You might want that, because then it also means the other party is difficult to pull out of. It can be marriage too, right? Marriage, so fun to get married and fall in love and get into that. Very difficult to remove yourself from it, especially since you're not really feeling great when you're removing yourself out of that. So you could be dealing with, somehow you might be looking, if a contract comes in for you, look at it, examine it. This isn't even saying don't do it. This is just saying understand that once you go down this path, it will be difficult to get out of. That doesn't mean it's not the right path. That doesn't mean it's the right thing, because we have something new, like a new job offer or something coming in here. So you may want to do it. So dealing with some sort of contract or commitment. And this could also be, if we're dealing with boundaries here, right, this could be a commitment where it's being overstepped. So really looking at the fine print of a commitment, really looking at, if you did buy that house and you maybe need to get someone out to survey the property line or something like that, to where are these boundaries actually? What are they actually? So, looking more closely at a contract and a commitment, about really what it actually entails, because it does not entail people controlling you, or right, boundaries and commitments and that kind of thing. Like, what really are the boundaries? What do you need to do? The devil also, for some people, represents depression, which this represents as well. So dealing with some sort of depression, looking at it, examining it, looking at the fine print of the depression, I guess, and dealing with those kinds of things that are difficult to disentangle yourself from. So I'm not even seeing that you fully disentangle, but, just maybe you married someone, but that doesn't mean, what doesn't that mean? What does that mean and what doesn't that mean? What's the fine print on marriage, really? And any kind of contract. So looking at the fine print of a contract, as you begin something new, starting something new, but just maybe understanding, maybe even doing a prenup if you are looking at marriage or something like that. So just understanding that it's something that's very difficult to remove yourself from, and sort of dealing with that. And where you're going, where you're headed, King of Voices, Muse of Voices, King of Swords, clear communication, balanced, fair understanding of a situation, of communication of all parties. This could be a judge coming in here that's able to really have a balanced view, hear both sides of the story, understand, apply truth and justice with wisdom and compassion. So that's what our Knight of Voices does, or Knight of Swords, Muse of Voices. They're very balanced. They're able to balance sort of the harsh realities with being a little bit gentle and some kindness too. So maybe you are setting up some boundaries here, but you're doing it kindly and efficiently. The King of Swords would also be very intellectual, very smart, and you want to be smart about how you set your boundaries. You don't want to go in, Boland China shop, assume the worst in people, and trash the place yourself. You want to, go in, communicate precisely, smartly, clearly, about what you understand and what you see. So it's both receiving that wisdom and being able to communicate it, and balancing out, clarity with gentleness, justice with mercy, that kind of thing. Being very smart about communication and how you see something, and being able to see all sides to it. So, all right, Pisces, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you so much for your likes, subscribes, and comments, and I will see you guys in a fortnight.